Skyrim is mostly an uninhabited, barren, wild wasteland full of lots of open fields and lots of open areas, but very few settlements. But when you really actually think about it, that's not true at all. But it really does feel that way though, when you really take a step and think about all of the places you can go and all of the settlements you can go to. The reason why Skyrim feels so empty is because even the villages and the cities of Skyrim feel very small and uninhabited. This video is part 1 to a mini series I want to do, going over a lot of the reasons and things that make Skyrim feel so empty and big, when in reality it's pretty small and actually pretty dense. This video's topic is going to be the rarely visited villages of Skyrim. So before we talk about the villages themselves, let's actually go over which ones actually exist. And so for this video, we're not going to talk about the Skala village, as that is on source time and that's kind of irrelevant to Skyrim. I mean, it's not irrelevant, but it's not part of the mainland, and the mainland is the focus. So a complete list of villages in Skyrim is Helgen, Riverwood, Rorikstead, Shores, Stone, Karth Waston, Iverstead, and Dragonbridge. That is 7 villages, and not gonna lie, I thought there was only 3. For the longest of time, I've been playing Skyrim since about 2014, and only recently, in about 2020, 2021, when I picked the game back up again, did I actually realize that Riverwood and Rorikstead aren't the only villages. And that is because I feel like to a casual audience, there's not really any point to any of them, aside from Riverwood and Rorikstead. And even that, Rorikstead, it doesn't feel like there's a point going there. I only know it exists because I've heard it in dialogue. I feel like Dragonbridge and Riverwood are the only 2 exceptions to this whole like irrelevant nature of the villages of Skyrim. And the reason I say that is because Riverwood is so heavily forced onto you by the game, in a very good way though. I don't mean that as it's forced onto you in a bad way. But if you really think about it, Riverwood isn't much different than the rest of them. It has about the same amount of houses, it has a mill, it has a blacksmith, it has all of the standard village stuff, but the game actually utilizes it. It's like the main hub of activity in Skyrim's main questline. Like Delphine constantly is bringing you back to the inn, and that's the first village you even go to once you escape from Helgen. Not only that, but his Whiterun Horde is a very big and kind of like a focus in the Skyrim game, just because like it's in the middle of the map. That makes sense. It would have the most focus, so I think that adds to Riverwood's notoriety. But why wouldn't it add to Rorikstead's notoriety? Rorikstead is also in Whiterun Horde. The reason why you would never go to Rorikstead is because you shouldn't. That's it. That's just it. You shouldn't go to Rorikstead. There's one quest basically. Well, basically there's 2. Every village in Skyrim has reasons why you would go to it. For example, every village in Skyrim has side quests or like miscellaneous quests that briefly take you to it. For example, in the A Night to Remember quest with Sam Gravine, when you get a hangover and you wake up in Markarth, you basically end up getting directed to Rorikstead. Now, you do go to Rorikstead for this quest, and this is actually quite a good quest, a quite notable one. It's not to stay, and there's absolutely nothing to do in Rorikstead. And this is a very common theme with all of the villages aside from Riverwood. You do generally get told to go to them, but once you show up, it's a very linear thing. You show up with an objective in mind. You complete that objective, that's it. All done. Good to go. Because in Rorikstead, the only in-town quest, the only quest that starts and ends in town is the Eric the Slayer quest, where he's complaining about not being able to go adventuring because his dad doesn't want him to, so he convinces his dad to let him go adventuring, and then goes adventuring. That's it. That's the only in-town thing to do. And I feel like the common theme is, whenever you actually go to these villages, it's more of like, what a nice little visit that was, more than, you know, an actually substantial experience. Like, I don't care about going to Rorikstead. Whiterun, an actual city, there's lots to do and lots of reasons to stay, lots of reasons to go back, and there's lots of quests within it to complete. Rorikstead I only go to when there's no other option, or when it's directed to me through a quest. Now that's enough about Rorikstead. Let's also quickly touch on Helgen. Obviously Helgen is completely irrelevant. I just want to mention it because it is one of them. The fact that 1/7 of the total villages in the game basically doesn't exist. I mean, Helgen is basically a bandit outpost, because if you don't know, it becomes a bandit outpost posts after it gets burnt down. I just think it's funny, kind of ironic. Now I'm sure what a lot of you are thinking is, Iverstead isn't irrelevant. Like Iverstead, you have a reason to go there. You're directed on the main quest line to Rorikstead to get to the Throat of the World. And that is actually very true. Iverstead does have its few advantages, its few good things, like, yeah, you do get directed to it, but that's it. Like, I feel like not many people, when they're told to go to Iverstead, actually go to Iverstead. They just pass through it to cross the bridge to get to the 7,000 step. But if you do stay in Iverstead, there is a few actually quests. I'm sure not many of you actually knew this, but there is a quest with the barrow right next to the inn that you can complete, and it's actually a very good quest, but not many people actually know about it or have completed it. And then there's also, you get directed there in the Dark Brotherhood, but that is like the exact epitome, that is like the exact embodiment of the issue that I said with Rorikstead, is you're told to assassinate Narfi, but like, of course, when you do that, the guards are going to be chasing you, so you just gotta run away. So it's like you show up, kill the dude, and then dip. And then of course there's the Klimek thing where you take the goods up to High Hrothgar, but that's hardly even within Iverstead, to be honest. That's hardly even within the city itself, to be honest. Dragonbridge, like I said, is probably one of the exceptions, because there's a lot of things that keep bringing you back to Dragonbridge. There's actually one quest within it. It's a misc quest, of course. Most of the quests that take you to any of these villages are misc quests, but this one is where you have to, Olda is complaining about her alcoholic husband and how he's hiding mead, and you gotta go find his hidden mead and take it from him. It's an interesting side quest, I suppose. But there's a few reasons to keep coming back to Dragonbridge, as you're brought there in the Dark Brotherhood questline during like the main part, not just a side quest of the Dark Brotherhood, but a main part of it is to kill a high-ranking Imperial of the Archelatus. Or you could destroy the Dark Brotherhood by going to one of the guards in Dragonbridge. You're also brought back there in Dawnguard as part of the finding the Moth Priest thing. So there is reasons to go to Dragonbridge, and I actually really like Dragonbridge for that, as two separate major quest lines in the game bring you to it, whereas for Iverstead, the only reason to go there is because the main quest line, or because of the Thieves Guild, kind of the Thieves Guild. I say Thieves Guild with massive air quotes. Sibby Blackbriar would tell you to kill his ex-wife or whatever, and she is in Iverstead, but that's not really a Thieves Guild thing. It's more of a side quest, but it is kind of Thieves Guild because it involves the Blackbriars. There's a lot of gray area involved, so do with that what you will. And the last two are definitely the least notable villages in the game, and that is Karth Waston and Shores Stone. Karth Waston is such a pathetic excuse for a town. It's actually crazy. Like, yeah, there's one decent quest in it where the Silverbloods are trying to buy the land from him, and that's a good quest. You can convince them to fuck off, or you can convince the guy to sell it to them, and that's an interesting quest. It also has a mine in it, and you also have to go to Karth Waston during the Sibyl of Debella quest. But like I said, once you complete like the things that you go there to complete, there's no reason to stay or no reason to really ever come back. That's what I feel like the issue is with these villages, is you go there one time and that's it. They don't feel fleshed out, and they hardly feel like they exist. It's kind of just like a fun little pit stop rather than actually like an experience with its own unique people and unique dialogue and unique like activities to do. And Shores Stone is definitely the most irrelevant, arguably, but I feel like it's the most irrelevant because the only thing you can do in there is the mine at Shores Stone is infested with spiders, so you can clear it out. And then of course the alchemist in Riften will send you there to pick up an ore sample, and that's it. That's literally it. At the end of the day, to sum everything up, the towns/villages of Skyrim have no real substance. They hardly have any houses to begin with. Like, if you go to them, maybe they'll have an inn and like a farmhouse and like 2 other houses. That's it. It really feels like there was no substance to them and no reason to actually go or go back. Whereas like any city in Skyrim, like even Morthal, like in Dawnstar, the 2 most pathetic capitals in the game, even they have a lot more substance, and I find myself coming back to them a lot for a lot of different reasons. But yeah, that is part 1 of the series that I'm doing on the unknown or / unvisited places in Skyrim. Surprisingly, there's a lot of settlements or like, houses just scattered around the wilderness that actually do exist, but I feel like Bethesda didn't realize how unsubstantial substantial they truly are compared to the grand scheme of the game. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching the whole thing. I really appreciate it. If you guys want, you can become a channel member for as little as $2.99 a month and get access to a bunch of free perks, including member-only live streams, which I will start doing once I get 10 members. So join up if you like, but don't feel obligated. Yes, stay awesome like always, and peace out.